All right, we are back in action. We live. I told you guys I'd get back on tonight, and so that is what we're gonna do. Except this time around, we are actually going to watch a video together, guys, and then we'll talk about it. Cause somebody had a question in the comment sections of one of my recent videos asking, what I would do differently in my 20s. What I would do differently in my 20s, or what I would tell my 20-year-old self. When it comes to building wealth. And so let's go ahead and let's start that. I see you guys are coming on. We are live. Obviously I'm going to save this, but nonetheless, guys, if you guys got any questions or want to chop it up, please do comment. I'm going to be watching and replying to you guys. So with that being said, let's check out this video, man. So this is the one that caught my eye with Graham Stephan and Tech Lead. I like both of these guys. I think they're both dope. Dang. So
what's up, you guys? It's Graham here. So I have a really special guest on the channel today. He is the Tech Lead from the Tech Lead Show, brought to you by the Tech Lead.
That's right. I'm an ex-Google Tech Lead, and I am the Tech Lead.
Do you have a name, or is it just the Tech Lead?
I do have a name, but oftentimes people will forget that I'm actually a tech lead, so I prefer if people just call me by that title.
Okay.
So this guy, I guess he became a millionaire working for Google. So you can become rich working for someone. I know the popular thing is work for yourself, open your own business, don't work for people. You can't get rich having a job. I mean, that's just not true. You could definitely get rich having a job. There's guys with jobs that make multiple six figures. Think about it. And then if you don't know who Graham Stephan is, what is wrong with you? Let's continue.
Okay. Now, the funny thing is, I found your video almost a year ago. Passive income, how you make $40,000 a year by doing nothing. That's how I found your channel, and that's how I started watching your videos. And it's really cool to see what you've done. And I think you have an amazing story that I really wanted to share on this channel, which you became a millionaire in your 20s, correct?
Yeah, that's right. So I've been running passive income for a while now. Yeah. And actually, I was a millionaire probably when I was age 25. So I became a millionaire by running a number of personal apps, right? So I can say that there were probably 3 to 4 different apps that I had built through coding projects that
I thought it was Google.
Significant
I'm wrong.
Over time.
My bad.
Right. So one of those projects was Human Pets. That was like a social network. And that one I built out when like Facebook platform was popular. I pretty much rode that trend, and I just built out a social network and started charging some money for memberships, getting some ad revenue from that. And through that, I was able to generate, say, $500,000 or so over the course of the lifetime.
How did you learn how to do that? Did you go to college?
Or it depends. Not right now.
How did all of this come to be?
So I think for me, it was really about tackling a new trend early. So I had to teach myself all of these coding exercises, right? Like, I did go to college for computer science, but they did not teach a lot of the web technologies that I would be using on. They taught mostly hardcore like C++ and stuff like that. Later on, I had to learn a bunch of new web technologies. And so at the time, I was working at Sony Pictures doing a standard 9-to-5 job, 75K salary. And when I started building out this project, it was starting to pay like $1,000 a day, maybe $2,000 a day here and there. And it was generating far more than my day job. So at some point, I just quit that job, and then I actually went to London to start traveling remotely and become sort of like a digital nomad, traveling and working, because there was actually nothing holding me back, right? There was no reason I had to be in a specific location.
Did you go to college for any of this?
I did go to college for computer science, but at the same time, a lot of these technologies, I had to learn myself. Like, this was about web technologies and scaling up databases, things like that. And I built like 3 or 4 web projects over time that would each generate, say, $500,000 or so each. And over a long period of time, they would actually generate that amount of revenue, bringing in about $1 million in total.
That's incredible. So how many apps did you do to reach the $1 million point at 25?
Yeah, I would say there were probably 3 different apps or so, each one bringing in about a third of that income, right? And I also had co-founders for some of these apps as well. And this is really about...
I don't know why I'm kind of bored a little bit. But let me answer some of these questions. Jorge said, "Do you have any rental properties? I think real estate is better than stocks. I had rental property in the past. I regret selling. Oh, like I'm always gonna regret selling rental property. But I'm definitely gonna get into it again. Just right now, I don't think right now like I showed you guys my brokerage account. I turned 20,000 into 42 or something like that in 2-3 months. It's really hard to do that in real estate. It just depends on what type of market you're in. If you're in a buyer's market, like that's one thing. If like 2008, 2009, 2010, 2011, real estate was way better than stocks. But stocks right now, when you're in a bull market, all these companies, all these disruptive, the times that we're in right now, there's a lot of changes. You got digital currencies becoming a thing. Online banking with these apps and stuff is so relevant with the Robin Hoods and the Cash Apps / Squares, the SoFis. Like there's so many new things going on, so many opportunities. It's almost like coming to America and claiming your land type thing. It's just when the gold rush was happening in America, like everybody kind of went west to try to get their portion of the American dream. I mean, man, with these EVs, with Biden as president, and trying to create all of these initiatives to make EV gas cars irrelevant. Like there's a lot of opportunity right now, and the guys who are paying attention are going to win the most. So like I don't know right now, I think stocks are a better opportunity ROI wise, but real estate is always going to be the tried and proven way in my eyes to create stable wealth with passive income. But if you're not a person that needs cash flow and you're just trying to build wealth, man, stocks are like, get your cash flow, make your money, make your 6 figures, put it in the stock market. Yeah. Sorry, guys. I mean, and if I was in my 20s right now, I'd be living with my mom and my dad as long as possible. Freaking, if I was gonna move, I'd probably do a duplex or a fourplex. I'd go get a FHA, live in one of the units while I'm literally living rent free, and I'm pumping as much money as I can into growth stocks, into the Teslas, the Neos, the CCIVs / Lucids. And I'm not a financial advisor, so this is just for entertainment. But like there's so much opportunity right now into clean energy, like ETFs like TAN. I would be pumping all my money into there, and like Dave Ramsey says, beans and rice and beans, living that lifestyle.
Perhaps riding a new trend or wave, getting that distribution power. Maybe it was about another app, cloning another app that was very popular, and then adding my own spin.
It's funny. I tell my son wants to learn coding,
which is really about just learning to monetize it in a better way.
What I like about coding is you have a skill set that can really do a lot for society, and it's a well-paying skill set, whether you're working for someone or working for yourself. They just opened a place called Code Academy, and I guess it's a franchise, and they have different locations everywhere, and that's what it is. It's coding school for kids. And so it's definitely something I'm going to look into for my son, because he's actually interested in coding. He wants to learn how to build websites. He wants to learn how to build apps. And if like, that's another language, right? If I would rather my son learn coding than Spanish right now. You know what I mean? Like, so definitely something that I'm looking into putting my son in.
How sustainable is apps? Because my understanding is that you can make a lot of money for a short amount of time, and then maybe something changes or a new trend comes in and the income can drop significantly. Has that been the case?
Yeah, so apps are not very sustainable at all. And these days you can say that, for example, YouTube shows may be the new app, right? Like, I feel that people are not making so many apps anymore. On average, people will download, like, say, one app a month or something like that. Yeah. So the app market is pretty tough these days. But what is pretty trendy these days is, say, being an influencer and then gaining that distribution power through platforms like YouTube, Instagram, or Twitter.
Yeah. So after you made all of these apps, at what point did you then start working for Google?
So for me, I was building out these apps, and some of them have been profitable for a while. And there was one set of apps that I had converted over to an iPhone app. And that's when I started learning more about iPhone technologies. And then that's when I applied to Google and got a job there. But the interesting thing was that I had been doing this when I was actually in Japan. So I was over there working remotely, working on my own stuff. And the app market was pretty tough, right? Like some of this stuff would be doing okay, but iPhone apps, you know, that's kind of a tough area to be in. And then at the time, I had also met my girlfriend who would become my wife. And it started occurring to me that I may want more stable income.
Jorge, think about it this way. If we're talking long term, what if you would have put $10,000 into Apple stock 20 years ago? Matter of fact, let's look that up real quick. Sorry to get off topic, but this is a live stream for a reason, right? Stock time machine. Let's look at $10,000 into Apple. $10,000. We're not talking about buying a rental property. Let me turn off the volume. Buying a rental property with 30% down, 25% down, and paying it off, right? Like, that's not what we're talking about. Let's do 20 years ago. We're going to do 1991 was yeah, okay. And let's put 10K. We're talking less than a down payment on a house. Was Apple, what's going on here? Was Apple not public? There it is. Here we go. Here we go. Guys, come on. What are we talking about here? Right? You're obviously not going to get cash flow during that time. But that's 30 years. My bad. Whoops. Let's do 20. But that's still, we're talking long term. There's no real estate you're going to touch with 10,000 down. That's going to make you that type of return. I cannot believe how bad I am. How bad that was. Let's look at 20 years. I don't know what the hell. Oh, it must have. That doesn't make a lot of sense, but these numbers are crazy. I mean, even if you would have put $10,000 into Apple this time last year, it probably would have turned into 40 grand. You get what I'm saying? In a bull market, it's kind of hard to top stocks. You see what I'm saying? Let's do, what's another one? Facebook wasn't around. But let's do 2010. When was Tesla? When did Tesla drop? I don't even think Tesla was around. Yeah, Tesla was, I know for sure Tesla was 2012. Let's do Tesla. 2012. 10 grand. Look at this. You see what I'm saying, guys? I mean, let's say Netflix. Let's say Netflix. I think we all knew Netflix was going to be a big deal. I don't know when Netflix started. I can't remember, but let's try Netflix. 2012. Okay. We all knew Netflix was a big deal. I mean, it is literally the reason why Blockbuster is not around anymore. So we knew it was a big deal. If we would have put $10,000 into it, let's see what that would look like. Look at that, guys. You're not getting those type of returns from real estate. Although I love real estate, don't get me wrong, I love it. You're not getting those type of returns. And here's the kicker. With Robinhood, you can use margin. You could do 1-to-1. So if you put 5 grand in, there's your 10,000, and they're gonna charge you 2.5% interest annually. So with $5,000, you could have made $5,000 into of your cash into Netflix. You could have made $500,000, with 5 grand. It's hard to do, man, with other stocks. And this isn't 20 years. This is, what is that? 9 years. You see what I'm saying? It's tough. It's just a lot of people aren't willing to do this and hold on to it long term. A lot of people ain't willing to do it. All right. So, anyways, let's get back to this video. So far, it's kind of boring.
At that point, and being able to supply everybody with health insurance. And health insurance, at least in the United States, it's notoriously difficult to get high quality health insurance.
It's expensive.
Yeah, very expensive. And I didn't want to really cheap out on some of this stuff. And I also realized that, hey, if I were to have a kid, which I have now, that's going to really lock me down, and I wouldn't be necessarily traveling all the time. So that kind of changed some of my perspectives on, do I really want to be a digital nomad going around working independently versus did I want to just grab a standard job and get that stable income?
What was it actually like, though, to work at Google? Is it everything that people kind of imagine it to be? Like it's this playground of amazing, smart people and all of these, entrepreneurs and everyone kind of coming together with this creative mindset? What's it like?
Well, I think that Google offers a pretty nice work-life balance. At least for me it did, right? Compared to, say, really at least when I was working on my own apps, I would be very cheap and very frugal on things. So I did not go out to very good lunches. I did not go to very good dinners. Google kind of provides you with healthy cooked food. So they give you a standard of living for me, I would say, right? So before, where I would be climbing around looking for free food samples at Costco and shops looking for free candy, Google just kind of provided that for me. And so that helped me at least raise my standard of living.
Okay.
But
now, going back to the frugal lifestyle, how do you live?
Raul, I think you're missing the point. I showed you how to make $500,000 in 9 years with 10 grand. You can't do that with real estate. You're not going to do that with real estate. It's not in a year or two, no way. With 10 grand, it's not happening. It's a great long-term investment, and like I said, I actually prefer real estate because, like you said, it's easier to understand. You have more control of the asset. So yeah, I get what you're saying, but if we're talking about what's a better investment in a bull market, I would argue that the stock market's better. I don't think that you should do one or the other. I think that if you're a savvy investor, if you're an entrepreneur, then you need to be able to pivot and adjust during the times. Right now is not a good time, is not a better time to get into real estate than stocks, for example. I would rather put my money into stocks right now in 2020, 2021. That may change. It might get to a point where, real estate makes more sense to do. But right now there's barely any supply on the market. You understand?
Becoming a millionaire in your 20s, either you're making so much money that you're just blowing money everywhere, or you take the opposite approach.
Would I ever do CNBC Millennial Money? I would.
How much you would spend and
I would,
lifestyle.
I would surprise people, especially since I'm a barber. You know what I mean? I would surprise a lot of people. Millennial Money would be fun.
Style-wise and how you were living.
yeah, so I tend to be very frugal, and one reason for that is because I had made $1 million in my 20s, but at the same time, that revenue stream ended pretty abruptly, right? It stopped quickly, and so with that experience, I knew that this would not last me forever, and I needed to continue to have income, or this could be the only thing I would have, right? Because there would be moments in my life where I would just say, well, I'm done coding. I'm not going to get back into that. I'm going to go into day trading. And when I become a day trader, that makes my future revenue stream very risky and very unpredictable.
Totally.
So for me, I try to save all of that because it may just last me forever. And it becomes very apparent when you have a net worth, but you don't have income flow, right? So I think that a lot of people who are working standard jobs, they go and they say, well, today I made $500 today.
The market, right? So MMA barber life. Yeah, I switched to stocks because it's a bull market. It's like a gold rush right now. 5 years ago, no, I wouldn't have touched the stock market. But now, I'm not getting into real estate. I'm buying a house this year, and I'm dreading it. I hate it. Everything's so expensive. There's barely any houses on the market. People are offering 5% over asking price. It's insane, the market right now. So I don't like it, and I'm not gonna keep my money, in a bank account losing its value. So Tesla, I love you. But Raul, I would say it's a lot more work. Like I can trade stocks from my phone. You know what I mean? I can do those things. Now, I don't like the volatility. I don't like seeing it go up and down. So I get it. I mean, in a perfect world, I'd be in real estate. In a perfect world, but right now we're obviously not in a perfect world, right? What age did I get into investing? 21 is when I started studying. I got a late start, I feel like. I started studying financial literacy when I was 21, working at Arby's at a fast food restaurant. And I decided I was going to change my life. I was going to pivot, and I was going to change my life. Don't talk to me about Dogecoin. Lost $5,000, $6,000 or something like that.
They feel pretty good about that. But for me, it was more about, hey, maybe I have $1 million in the bank account, and that number only goes down every day.
Yeah.
And it needs to last forever.
Yep.
So based on that reasoning, I tried to be very frugal with my expenses. Making a lot.
That is definitely not true. 90% of millionaires are from real estate. No, that is 90% of millionaires have real estate, but to say that they built their wealth off of real estate, that's not true. I would say most millionaires probably from businesses and let's see. What should I look up? How most millionaires built their wealth. Let's see. Look, like this right here will say, like a lot of people, because you buy a house and by the time you pay it off, probably worth $1 million, right? Like, but I would say definitely not. Look at Forbes. How many real estate tycoons are on Forbes? Think about it. It's mostly business owners, entrepreneurs. I think that's a complete myth, is what I think. All right, let's go back to this video. You guys got me all over the place.
A lot of money at a young age, and then having that income cut off, right? Because apps are fat-based.
I would say it's
it made me really start
regurgitated nonsense.
The time value of having money while I was young.
No diss at you, but just think about it.
I did was just sit back. By the time my other peers would get to age 40, 50, they would also get to, say, $1 million.
Right.
And then the edge that I had, all the glory of, say, being able to make that money young, it would kind of wear off, right? Like, what did I really get from having that young? And I kind of thought, well,
I'm not gonna lie. I thought this was gonna be a lot more entertaining. It's boring.
But even as much. Okay. So for me, what I was looking for was to experience that money while I was younger.
Got it. Where do you invest your money?
I know that you're a real estate agent, and one thing is that I did try to get into housing, right? I think last year I bid on like 5 to 10 different houses, and I lost all of them.
Because you weren't working with a really good real estate agent.
Yeah, that could be it.
That
could be true, yeah.
Okay.
But at least in Silicon Valley, the real estate market is very difficult. Like, you could be bidding 10%, 20% over in all cash, and you would still lose that.
All right, you know what? This isn't going to answer the question. But look, 90% of millionaires probably have real estate. I mean, they buy their houses, they pay it off, but the answer, no, that's not it. But like, I mean, yeah, you can tell, according to a survey, top 10% income earners are gaining wealth from business, farm, or self-employment income. Half of the income comes from wages through businesses, and the other half comes from interest, dividends, and capital gains. Capital gains. Thank you, MMA Barber. Shout out to MMA Barber. Hold on, let me give him a plug real quick. He's always talking business and wealth as well. But look, it says it right here. capital gains can come from real estate, obviously. But most people are building their wealth from self-employment, business. You see what I'm saying? It just makes sense, guys. It just when you aren't getting paid hourly, you have the best chance of building wealth. Salesmen can make $1 million in a year because they're commission based, right? And so then you take that money, that high income, and then you start to diversify because you're not going to have cash sitting in a bank account losing money. So, of course, you're going to put your money into assets that don't lose, that actually grow when there's inflation. Assets will actually grow in value when there's inflation. Cash will lose value when there's inflation. So millionaires aren't sitting with $1 million in their bank account. It's a stupid thing to do. They'll have their emergency fund, some credit cards, and they'll start parking their cash into assets, whether it's inventory because they have a business that's inventory driven, whether it's and that's why when you do net worth and stuff, they count your inventory. They count that stuff. They'll put their money into real estate. So they're going to buy their own house, or they're going to put it into an apartment complex, into a REIT, right? Or they'll put it into the stock market, into a big cap, not penny stocks, into a big cap, a more safe stock, because they are into wealth preservation, okay? And so it's easy to say 90% of millionaires did it through real estate, when in actuality, I mean, these guys are high cash flow people. You got to have high cash flow, in my opinion, to build wealth in this lifetime. If you go the Dave Ramsey plan where you're doing low cash flow, then you're going to get rich after investing for 30 years. You know what I mean? In a 401k IRA. But what's the point at that point, right? So that's why I always tell people, invest in yourself first and build up your income, because when you're making $250,000, $300,000 a year, $500,000 a year, it becomes easy to build real wealth, right? Like, you can just throw your money at stuff, and it's funny because like, I put $20,000 into the stock market in the last 3 months. I made more money from stocks than I did, most of my life. Like, I think I was averaging $6,000 to $8,000 a month. And that's why they say all the time, it's the first step is the hardest step. Getting that cash flow is the hardest step. It takes the most work. It takes the most time. After that, it starts to snowball. You see what I'm saying? One of my friends, it's so funny. One of my friends got into the Dogecoin early, and literally, for shits and giggles, he put like, I forget how much he put like 10 grand into it for shits and giggle, and made a $25,000 profit in 3 hours. $25,000 profit in 3 hours. And here comes Basio. I throw 12 grand into Dogecoin, and in 2 hours, I lose half of my money. Although, what happened? It froze. Oh, there it goes. And in 2 hours, I lose half my money. So I just had bad luck. My boy came up 25. I went down 5. Isn't that funny? All right, guys. Well, that's it for tonight's live. Listen, I want to grow this channel. I want to do this a couple times a day. I'm considering doing this a couple times a day. I have a lot of fun on this topic, and I watch these type of videos anyways. Unfortunately, I picked a kind of boring video to watch. Don't watch that video. It's kind of boring. Yeah, if you guys like this, definitely subscribe, turn on the notification bell, because that's when you're gonna know if I'm live or not. And definitely share this, man. I want to grow this channel and hang out with y'all a little bit more often. So I will see you guys tomorrow. How about that? I'll see you guys tomorrow. Y'all have a good night.